When I told her no, she looked at me like I'd just betrayed her in front of a firing squad. She just asked me, no, expected me, to co-sign a loan for her brother. And not some small-time loan, either. We're talking 20 grand for a guy who once got fired from a bowling alley for stealing beer from the fridge. I said no. That was it. One syllable. No. She lost it. Said I didn't support her family. Said I was selfish, controlling, paranoid. Funny how those words always fly out when people don't get what they want. I didn't yell back. Didn't beg her to calm down like I had 100 times before. I just walked into my study, opened the bottom drawer, and called my lawyer. That was 4 weeks ago. Now the wedding is off. The ring's in a drawer I don't open. And my phone's gone quiet, except for the occasional notification from her friends who still think I'm the villain in a rom-com gone wrong. But here's the twist. I don't miss her. Not really. What I miss is the version of myself I used to be when I believed her love was real. That's the part no one tells you. How freedom doesn't feel like a victory march. It feels like silence. Like the kind that settles over your chest and doesn't move. I am 47. Used to be a regional sales manager for an industrial tool supplier. The kind of job where you know exactly how many miles are on your car, but not the last time you had a real conversation. That job dried up during the pandemic, like so many others. Now I freelance, part logistics, part consulting, part figuring it out as I go. It's not glamorous, but it pays for the roof over my head and the whiskey I sip on bad nights. Her name was Vanessa. Funny how just typing it still makes my jaw tighten. We met 2 years ago at a conference in Austin. Hit it off over overpriced cocktails and mutual career burnout. It started light, nothing serious. Neither of us was looking for anything. And yet here we were, engaged 18 months later, planning a wedding in the backyard of a house I bought before I even met her. I should have seen the cracks. She had a way of turning every favor into a duty. Every act of kindness into something she was owed. At first, I thought it was just stress. Planning a wedding, managing family, rebuilding a life. But now, with the silence settled in, I can see it for what it was, the slow erosion of myself. It started with her brother, then her car insurance, then the student loan she forgot to tell me about. And every time, I gave in, thinking that's what love meant, covering for someone else's mess. Turns out, love isn't sacrifice when it's only flowing one way. It's surrender. The night before I ended it, we were supposed to meet her brother for dinner. Some little Mexican place off Highway 83, nothing fancy. But I knew what was coming before we even left the house. Vanessa had that look, tight smile, eyes avoiding mine, fingers fidgeting with the strap of her purse. She only got like that when she wanted something big. And sure enough, halfway through the meal, over queso and a pitcher of beer, she brought it up. She wanted me to co-sign a loan for her brother. Not help him with a few bucks. Not a temporary boost. She wanted me to sign on the line for a man who couldn't hold down a job longer than a haircut. A man who once asked me if interest was like optional. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't shame her. I just said no. Calm, direct, without apology. Vanessa froze. Like she couldn't believe I'd refused. Her brother looked at me like I'd kicked his dog. I finished my beer, paid for dinner, and walked to the truck. That night, the house was a war zone without a single shout. She slammed doors, threw accusations like confetti. Said I didn't love her. That I was abandoning her family. That I was punishing her for things she couldn't control. And maybe that was the moment I realized the truth. I wasn't punishing her. I was finally stopping the punishment of myself. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Told him to put a pause on everything. The venue deposit, the joint bank account updates, the name change paperwork. I even asked him about canceling the prenup she insisted we sign. Not because I was bitter, because I was done playing house with someone who saw me as a walking wallet. When I told her it was over, her silence said more than all the screaming from the night before. She packed her things in a storm of passive aggression, muttering under her breath, slamming drawers like punctuation. She didn't cry. Neither did I. What surprised me most wasn't the end. It was the relief that followed. Like I'd been holding my breath for 2 years and didn't realize until I finally exhaled. It's strange, the first morning after someone leaves for good. The bed is colder, sure, but that's not what gets you. It's the silence. No clattering of makeup brushes, no distant hum of a hairdryer, no off-key humming from the kitchen. Just you, a half-cold cup of coffee, and the realization that peace doesn't make sound. The day after Vanessa left, I sat in my truck outside the old HEB on Saunders Street. Engine off, listening to talk radio without really hearing it. I hadn't been able to sleep. My body was still bracing for the next argument, the next guilt trip, the next emotional landmine I'd have to dance around. But there was nothing. No texts, No calls, no threats to come back and talk like adults. She was just gone. What haunted me most was how easy it had been for her to walk away. I kept waiting for some sign that she'd regret it. A message, a voicemail, something to show that this whole thing had meant more than logistics and leverage. But days passed, and all I got was silence, which, honestly, was better than manipulation. I took the ring to a pawn shop on Bartlett Avenue. The guy behind the counter didn't ask questions, just waited, squinted, and gave me a number that was somehow both insultingly low and more than I expected. I took it. Cash. No receipt. Closure doesn't always come with ceremony. That night, I cleared out the top drawer of the dresser, the one she used. Scarves, receipts, half-used lip balm, a travel toothbrush. All of it went into a grocery bag I tied shut and left by the door. I didn't burn it or throw it away. Just set aside. There's dignity in not making a spectacle. A neighbor waved from across the street. Nice guy. Asked if everything was all right. I nodded, said something about downsizing. He didn't press. People in Laredo know how to mind their own business. It's a kind of southern politeness, learned and lived. That night, I slept straight through. No dreams, just darkness. And in the morning, for the first time in what felt like years, I woke up without dread sitting on my chest. There's a kind of inventory you take after a breakup. Not just the shared items or joint accounts, but the invisible things. Trust, time, pieces of yourself you gave away without even realizing it. I started making a list. Not out of spite, not even out of grief. More like a quiet accounting of all the ways I'd shrunk to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. First, there was my truck. I'd stopped taking long drives, the ones I used to take just to clear my head. Vanessa hated the gas mileage. Then, the Saturday mornings. I used to spend them at the shooting range with a couple of old buddies from my sales days. She said it was a toxic hobby, so I stopped going. My record player, the one I used every Sunday for blues albums, packed away. She preferred Spotify. It adds up. Bit by bit, you hand over small pieces of your routine, your joy, your identity. Not all at once. That would be obvious. No, it's always slow, polite, and just reasonable enough to sound like compromise. I found my old leather journal in a drawer. The one I used to write in when I traveled for work. Notes, sketches, stray thoughts from hotel rooms and airports. I flipped through it like I was reading letters from a version of myself I hadn't spoken to in years. The entries stopped about a month after I met Vanessa. That night, I sat on the back porch with a beer in that journal. The wind was dry, warm, the kind that scratches at your skin but doesn't cut deep. I flipped to the first blank page and wrote a single sentence. I almost forgot who I was, but I didn't. It wasn't poetry, but it felt true. I don't think she meant to erase me. I think she just needed someone soft to lean on, someone steady to balance her chaos. And I tried. God knows I tried. But in trying to hold her up, I stopped carrying myself. Some things I've reclaimed. Others I don't want back. Because when you take something out of a box after 2 years and feel nothing, that's the answer, isn't it? Her brother still texts me. That part caught me off guard. I thought after everything, after I refused the loan, after I called off the wedding, he'd vanish with the rest of it. But nope. Every few days, a message pops up from a number I thought I'd blocked. Hey man, no hard feelings, right? Hope you're doing okay. You were always cool. Got any work leads? I never respond. At first, I saved the texts. Thought maybe I'd need them one day. For what? I don't even know. To show someone? To remind myself I wasn't imagining it? But eventually I realized that keeping them was like keeping souvenirs from a place I never wanted to visit again. So I started deleting them, one by one, like sweeping up glass. And still, he keeps texting, like he thinks I'm just going through a phase. I'm gonna wake up one morning and go, you know what? Maybe I should take financial advice from a guy who once sold fake concert tickets to his own cousin. I'll give him this. He's persistent. But that's the thing about people like him. They don't change, they adapt. They survive by finding the next soft target. And for a while, that was me. Because Vanessa didn't just bring her brother into my life, she brought his chaos. His late night calls, his car trouble, his secondhand stress that seeped into our house like a gas leak. And I took it all, thinking that's what partnership meant. That if you love someone, you absorb their storm. Turns out, no. Love isn't about absorbing someone else's damage. It's about refusing to drown with them when they won't even try to swim. These days, I still get twitchy when my phone buzzes. Not because I'm scared, but because I remember who I was when I answered every message out of guilt. Not anymore. A week after everything unraveled, I got a card in the mail. No return address, but the handwriting gave it away immediately. Her mother, always neat cursive, the kind you don't see much anymore. Pale blue envelope, probably from some box of stationery she's had since the 90s. I stood at the mailbox for a long minute, just staring at it. I didn't open it right away. Brought it inside, left it on the kitchen counter like it might open itself if I ignored it hard enough. But curiosity is a stubborn thing, and sometime around midnight, I cracked the seal. Inside was a single line. I hope you can forgive her someday. That was it. No signature, no apology, no ownership of what they'd enabled, what they looked away from. Just those 8 words, polite and hollow like a condolence at the wrong funeral. I laughed. Quiet, sharp, bitter. Because the only thing worse than being hurt is having your pain treated like an unfortunate event, like a car crash no one caused. Like forgiveness is owed just because time passed. What she didn't know, what Vanessa never knew, was that I'd already forgiven her. Not because she asked. She didn't. Not because she earned it. She didn't. But because I needed to stop carrying the weight. Anger has gravity. It keeps you tethered to the moment someone wronged you. And I've been carrying that moment like a rock in my chest. So I forgave her. Quietly. Privately. Without a scene. But forgiveness isn't the same thing as reconciliation. It doesn't mean you rebuild the bridge. Sometimes it means you watch it burn, then sweep the ashes from your shoes and keep walking. I didn't reply to her mother. Didn't send a message back or post some vague quote on social media. I just tucked the card into the junk drawer and moved on. Because forgiveness may be noble, but boundaries are necessary. I opened the drawer today, the one where I'd shoved the engagement ring. Small wooden box, velvet lining, still heavier than it should be for something so small. It had been sitting there for weeks, untouched, like a question I didn't want to answer. I don't know what I expected. Some final jolt of anger? Regret? Maybe a flood of old memories, good ones from back when I still believed in the future we planned. But all I felt was nothing. Not even relief. Just the kind of quiet you feel in a hospital hallway, where everything's technically calm, but carries weight anyway. The ring didn't shine the way it used to. I don't mean it was dirty. It was still flawless, a solitaire diamond with clarity so sharp it once stopped her mid-sentence. No, I didn't see it the same way. Back then it looked like a promise. Now it looked like a receipt. A reminder of how much I was willing to invest in someone who never had to put anything down herself. I almost pawned it that afternoon. Even drove halfway to the shop. But something stopped me at a red light near McPherson Road. I didn't want cash. I didn't want closure. I just didn't want to carry it anymore. So I didn't sell it. But I didn't keep it either. I took it down to the Rio Grande, just past the walking trail near the water. No one was around. I stood there for a long time, staring at that little box like it owed me something. It didn't. I opened it, closed it, opened it again. Then I placed it under a flat rock near the river bend. Didn't throw it, didn't bury it, just left it, something that belonged to a past version of me I no longer recognized. There's something sacred about letting go without ceremony. Not because it wasn't important, but because some chapters deserve to end in quiet. The hardest part isn't the fight. It's the quiet that comes after. When Vanessa left, the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt abandoned, like walking into a house after a storm and hearing the wind still settle in the walls. Her absence wasn't just physical. It was an echo in every routine I didn't know was shared until it was broken. I'd wake up and still roll over to her side of the bed, forgetting it was cold. I kept refilling 2 coffee mugs out of habit. The second one sat untouched every morning until I finally stopped pouring it. Not out of sadness, just out of acceptance. Healing didn't come in big dramatic waves. It came in small, stupid moments. Like rediscovering I liked jazz on vinyl instead of Spotify playlists curated for someone else's mood. Like realizing I didn't have to justify my weekends anymore. I didn't need to text someone where I was going. Didn't have to explain why I wanted solitude instead of brunch with strangers. I rearranged the living room furniture one afternoon. Moved the couch, swapped the lamp, took down that print she insisted made the room feel curated. Suddenly it looked like my space again, lived in, imperfect, real. And I went back to the range. The man at the counter nodded like no time had passed. First shot was shaky. Second, centered. By the fifth, my hands remembered who they were before I started giving up things just to avoid arguments. That's the thing about losing yourself in a relationship. It's never one big decision. It's a slow erosion. You say yes when you want to say maybe. You stay home when you'd rather be elsewhere. You bite your tongue, call it compromise, and before you know it, there's nothing left to chew on but your own silence. I don't hate her. I don't even blame her, not really. She found someone to carry her chaos. I volunteered for the job, but I've since handed in my resignation. Now, the silence is different. It's not empty, it's open. It doesn't ask questions or apologize for taking up space. It just lets me breathe fully in a room I no longer have to shrink inside of. Freedom doesn't come with fireworks. No grand moment, no applause. It sneaks in around the edges, in the way you stand a little straighter when you walk through your own front door, in the way your name sounds alone, without being tethered to someone else's plans. It's subtle. I was in the produce section at H-E-B, of all places, when I noticed it. I picked up a grapefruit, checked for bruises, and realized I wasn't thinking about whether Vanessa liked grapefruit. I wasn't calculating what she might say about the price or whether it would clash with the dinner she planned. I just wanted grapefruit. And that was it. That was the freedom. Not dramatic, not cinematic. Just mine. I started writing again. Not for anyone else. Just for me. Stories, scraps of thoughts, half poems that don't rhyme but still make sense in my own way. I filled 2 pages one night, sitting on the back porch while the neighbor's dog barked at nothing. Didn't even notice the time pass. That used to be a version of me I thought I lost. Turns out, he was just waiting his turn. Some nights, I still feel it, the ghost of what could have been. The ache of almost. But I don't chase it anymore. That future wasn't real. It was borrowed, propped up by 1,000 justifications I don't believe in anymore. There's peace in letting the wrong story end. I'm not healed in the way people imagine healing. I still double take when I see couples holding hands at the gas station. I still flinch a little when someone says fiancé too casually in conversation. But I don't live in that place anymore. I visit, and then I come home. And home, now, is a place where I can hear my own thoughts again. Funny thing is, I used to think love would save me. Now I know, the right kind of love doesn't save you. It just lets you stay whole. And finally, I am